I learned a tremendous amount from Frank Warner, who's a legendary sound editor. Did On the Waterfront, did, a lot of old movies. He came out to the set on Bound for Glory, and on the weekend, we did a whole series of recording of all the period cars. And he explained to me how you can record stuff that's useful for the sound editor that has to build all the backgrounds with the cars and all this sort of stuff. So I learned from some of the greatest people, because I realized that my role as the production sound mixer was to gather all those pieces that are happening on the set, so that everybody else that's going to work on the movie, not just the soundtrack, but they're going to work on the picture, so that everything that I'm doing enables them to make the best movie they can. So it's
I think it's really interesting, just this point about where the kind of disconnect in a way has come between kind of post and production. Maybe just in terms again of that technological thing of they haven't even hired the post-production person yet because they're still negotiating.
A lot of reasons.
And then how building a relationship can foster
Right.
better things.
Well, I will say that fortunately that disconnect has not affected me as much in my career, but that's also because I've been very selective in working with a lot of the same people. So they know where I'm coming from. I know where they're coming from. And I have not wound up on a lot of productions where this division or this separation between the production people and the post people is so vast. And I think the factors that have been applied, there's a lot of factors, but one of them is the budgets. That it takes a very smart producer to be able to preside over the whole budget of the whole movie. And there are a lot of producers that are not even up to that, because even when they get the job as producer, they're sort of, let's say they're the line producer, their job is to keep the production part of it under control. We can't go over schedule. We can't this. We've got to make our days. I know it's going to take 70 days to shoot this, but we've only got 50 from the studio. So we're going to have to schedule. We're going to have to so-and-so like that. And they're very concerned about all those things, starting with, we're not going to have the production sound mixer on the location scouts with us, because that's an additional cost. We can save some money there. We're not going to, all these sorts of things like that. And then on the day, you've got a production manager whose allegiance is just to that day. It's not really to the movie. You have an assistant director who's supposed to be assisting the director, but really they're assisting the production, for the most part. There's some assistant directors who really do assist the director and they're really on board with the movie. They're the really good assistant directors who really understand the value of the crew, every single crew member, even the guy that's just, running cable for the lights. The electricians or whatever, understands that everyone needs to be respected. Everyone is part of the process. But those are the rare assistant directors. I love to work with those. So right away, they don't want the production sound mixer speaking with the post people, if the post people are already on the job, because the post people will be saying, now make sure that you get the room tone, make sure you get this, don't let them overlap, and make sure that in the coverage, you get this clean, because we really know you're shooting in a location that's very noisy. So, they don't want me to come back, even though I'm the one responsible. I'm one of the sound department is the only group of people, and it's usually only 3 of us, if we're lucky, that are the emissaries or responsible for the production sound. I have to go back to the set and convince an assistant director or the director or a production manager that these things are necessary. And I'm hearing this from the people who are the recipients of, even directors of photography should have more communications with the picture editor than just, sending in the dailies. And to a certain extent, I think because it is a picture medium, directors of photography don't have this big divide between the production side and the post or editorial side, but they can get away with it with sound, because bottom line is, even if we don't talk at all, as long as in today's world, as long as we get the frame rates right, time code is there and all, they will have something in post that they can put in sync with the picture, and then they can realize, well, what they've got is pretty awful. But what can they do about it? You know, I mean, it's it's a different budget. The post budget is a different budget. You do unfortunately have people in post, particularly in sound, saying, well, it's shit, but I can save it. And they're the last people in line to like save a movie, which may have been in trouble. It may have been in trouble from the last draft of the script,
yeah.
You know, or the casting or something else, which none of us are responsible, except the director and the producer are responsible for it. They now have to figure out, how am I going to save my movie? And you've got creative sound designers that are saying, well, if we build this amazing soundscape, where when she shows up at the factory, we have all of these, you know, I can build this background, as, you know, whatever like that. Meanwhile, you've got other people in sound editorial trying to clean up the dialogue so you can understand anything that the actors are saying. And then you've got the re-recording mixer that has to somehow get it all together, where you've also got your music mixer in there, and you've got your composer saying, no, I'm going to save your movie with the score.
Yeah.
You know? So all of those things, well, those are sort of things that happen after the divide. But during production, there is this big division, starting with the fact that a lot of times the post people aren't on the job at all. So there's nobody to talk to. There's a post supervisor whose main job is just to get all the numbers right, which is not that tough to do. You know, I mean, even though they seem to change on every job, because they try the numbers that worked on the last job, and they found out they had difficulty. So let's try these other numbers because those worked on some job, which is, you know, the whole 48 or 48048 thing. It's, you know, 23976. It's whether, you know, they're editing on a newer Avid or an older Avid, or whether they're going to do, you know, Final Cut, you know, all these sorts of things. So there's still those sorts of things that have to get sorted out.